Good morning, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to my morning news report right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. Once again, history to be made as first in nation primary filing period opens today, Wednesday. Secretary of State Gardner to oversee 11th primary of his 43 years in top election post. It's that time again. For the 11th time in his 43 years as New Hampshire's Secretary of State, William M. Gardner will oversee the filing period for the first in the nation presidential primary beginning Wednesday, October 30th, 2019. Gardner, who nearly won a 22nd term as the state's top election official in a vote by state lawmakers last December, will continue the tradition of welcoming candidate after candidate into his second floor State House office. He'll show them the legendary desk donated by the family of the late state rep Stephen Bullock, who authorized the first primary in law in 1913. He'll give them a bit of historical perspective. And he'll likely show them the poster he created for the 2020 New Hampshire primary, celebrating the 100 years that have passed since the contest became the first in the nation. While the 2020 primary campaign has been underway for a year, the filing period brings it into an even sharper focus. Now it's for real. The next step will be for Gardner to set the date of primary. He'll likely do that several weeks after the close of the filing period, around the end of the month. But for now, filing opens Wednesday at 8 a.m. and continues every weekday through November 15th, except the Veterans Holiday, November 11th, when the State House will be closed. It's a simple process. A candidate must fill out a declaration of candidacy as set out in statute and either provide 1,000 filing fee in certified check or submit 10 signatures of residency of each of the state's 10 counties. The first major candidate known to be filing on day one is Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, Indiana, who's scheduled to appear at Gardner's office at 11:30 a.m. On Thursday, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who will file for his second New Hampshire primary, also at 11:30 a.m. Sanders was the winner of the 2016 Democrat contest in a landslide over Hillary Clinton. On Monday, November 4th, spiritual author Marianne Williamson will file at 11 a.m. and former U.S. Rep. John Delaney will file at 2 p.m. On Wednesday, November 6th, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar is scheduled to appear at 9 a.m. Thursday, November 7th will be a particularly busy filing day. So far, those known to be filing are Senator Kamala Harris of California and Cory Booker of New Jersey. Also entering the State House that day will be Vice President Mike Pence to file on behalf of President Donald Trump. The times of each of those filings yet to be announced. Arrangements are being negotiated to ensure that Pence and the two Democrats do not overlap in their filings. On November 8th, former Vice President Joe Biden will file. Republican challenger, former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld, will file on Thursday, November 13th. And here is a photo of the Bullock desk with Gardner celebratorial poster. Take a look. As you can see, this is the desk right here, the poster. A group of Democrat candidates have not yet announced when they will file. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, Colorado Senator Michael Bennet, Montana Governor Steve Bullock, U.S. Rep. Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, former Federal Housing and Secretary Julian Castro, former U.S. Rep. Beto O'Rourke of Texas, former U.S. Rep. Joe Sestak of Pennsylvania, billionaire activist Tom Steyer, and entrepreneur Andrew Yang. Republicans who have not announced filing dates are former U.S. Rep. Mark Sanford of South Carolina and Joe Walsh of Illinois. But these are not all the candidates who will file, not by a long shot. There are likely to be a few dozen candidates or more on the Democrat or Republican ballot by the time the filing ends. In 2016, for instance, there were 30 candidates on the Republican ballot and 28 on the Democratic ballot. Gardner said the record was set in 1992 when a total of 62 candidates filed. Surrogates are allowed to file for the primary ballot on behalf of a candidate as long as the candidate has signed the Declaration of Candidacy. Surrogates can file on someone's behalf through the next to last day of filing period. On the final day of filing period, however, the candidate must appear in person to file. What does Gardner expect? Gardner is proud of the new 100th anniversary poster, copies of which he said are being produced at no cost to the state. It contains photos of every president since 1952, which was the first year that voters directly selected candidates, rather than delegates representing certain candidates. Gardner said in 1952 was the beginning of the modern New Hampshire primary. The poster also has photos of people Gardner calls pillars of New Hampshire primary, including the late Rep. Bullock, the late New Hampshire House Speaker Robert Upton, who authoring the law allowing voters to cast ballots directly for candidates. The late Governor Hugh Gregg, who Gardner calls the chief defender of the primary during his lifetime, and former state rep and state senator Jim Spillane, a living legacy who authorized the law ensuring that New Hampshire's primary be held 7 days ahead of any similar election. Gardner wrote a lengthy passage about the primary on the poster, explaining that it has lasted wars and the Great Depression through, states attempting to take it from us, and national parties which have been helpful at times and not so helpful at other times. He wrote that the primary has been conducted without scandals and miscounts. And he noted in the interview, the primary remains the first presidential contest in the nation in which voters can cast ballots in the privacy of voting booths in an election funded not by political parties, but by the state and local communities. And now let's take a look at this video. Filing period opens for New Hampshire primary. Candidates expected to troop into State House over next coming days. Let's take a look at this video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Filing for the New Hampshire primary is one of the few times presidential campaigns can really go over the top here. Like in 1995, when Bob Dole arrived in a train with a marching band. Or 1987, when George Bush brought along Red Sox great Ted Williams.
I'm very happy to be on his team.
4 years ago, Bernie Sanders filed and held a big rally in front of the State House. Future President Donald Trump signed up and made a joke about the filing fee.
So this is from a bank that's not actually as rich as we are, right?
But that $1,000 is actually one of the lowest barriers of entry for any primary in the nation. Secretary of State Bill Gardner explained that to us 32 years ago.
Here, it's because it's the first primary, it's open, and it's a tradition in this state to have access to the ballot. And we cherish that and feel that we're willing to let the citizens of New Hampshire pick from amongst a lengthy list of candidates.
You haven't aged a bit since we did this in 2000.
Gardner has been a constant presence over the last 4 decades. He's there for the top candidates and whoever else walks through the door.
Rory Calhoun. Proud to take the hat off.
Sometimes the biggest story is who doesn't show up. Mario Cuomo kept everyone in suspense in 1991, but decided to stay in New York.
There's always something that you don't expect that happens.
So as yet another filing period opens, we'll see familiar faces.
This time I got the right guy.
And perhaps the next president. Just don't forget that filing fee.
Yep. Check.
In Concord, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video from Adam Sexton. And that does it for my morning news report right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you back here later on today for another news report. Goodbye, everyone.